And our focus is getting the first three mines up and running. Lanes Branch is producing coal as we speak. In fact, there's over a train's worth of coal sitting on the ground now. And so that's why we think we're very fortunate to be the first metallurgical coal go public IPO in the United States in 8 years.
The global race for critical minerals has never been more competitive. Governments are working to secure supply chains, investors are searching for the next strategic resource, and companies are racing to position themselves for what's coming next. But while much of the attention has centered on battery metals, one commodity remains absolutely essential to modern industry and has recently been recognized in an entirely new way. Welcome to the Market's Frontlines. I'm your host, Lyndsay Malchuk. Metallurgical coal has recently been added to the U.S. critical minerals list, a move that has the potential to reshape how this commodity is viewed with global supply chains and industrial security. Now, against that backdrop, my guest represents a company that's focused exclusively on metallurgical coal. Clinch Resources is already producing from its Lanes Branch surface mine, preparing to bring Mine 8 into production and expanding its long-term growth through a significant ownership position in JJ Resources. Joining me for that conversation is Bobby Gaylor, Executive Vice President of Investor Relations. It's great to have you here, Bobby. So interesting, and I can't wait to actually just learn more here.
Thank you so much for having me, Lindsay. Yeah, it's an exciting time to be in the metallurgical coal space. I've been in it multiple times before when it wasn't so exciting, but we have tailwinds behind us for the first time in my lifetime in metallurgical coal, specifically around being added to the critical mineral list back in November, which really took this particular commodity from targeted to protected. And not only that, but it also opens up the United States government Department of Defense funding, which will apply to critical minerals, of which, of course, now metallurgical coal is one of them.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to push this just a little bit here. Clinch made a deliberate decision to become a pure metallurgical coal producer at a time when many resource companies are diversifying into multiple commodities. What was the thinking behind staying completely focused on metallurgical coal?
We kind of saw what was coming in the world, and we knew that when the world goes, geopolitical issues kind of rise up. Some of the things go basic, and basic is clean water, food, energy, and critical infrastructure. And to have critical infrastructure in Department of Defense applications, you got to have high tensile strength steel. And the only way to this day to make high tensile strength steel is with iron ore, metallurgical coal, and 7 other inputs. So we thought we saw this wave coming. We never dreamed big enough to think we'd be added to the critical mineral list, but here we are. And so that's why we think we're very fortunate to be the first metallurgical coal go public IPO in the United States in 8 years.
100%.
And the timing seems to be good, and the tailwinds are there, and the pricing of the product today at $240 represents that.
That definitely does. That focus actually seems to carry through every part of the business too, because now the conversation shifts from strategy right into execution. I mean, you're fully permitted. Your production is already underway at Lanes Branch, and Mine 8 is preparing to come online. So, Bobby, as you look ahead over the next 12 months, we'll say, what milestones do you believe has the greatest potential to change how investors view Clinch Resources?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lindsay. And again, our focus is getting the first 3 mines up and running. Lanes Branch is producing coal as we speak. In fact, there's over a train's worth of coal sitting on the ground now, about to be sold, and we're excited about announcing that. Mine 8 is our first underground mine. It's a high vol A mine located right across the street from our prep plant. So we literally mine that coal and belt it straight into the prep plant. So we enjoy a cost savings because of that. Mine 3 is also located right next to our prep plant, and we'll be bringing that online in the 4th quarter. So our focus right now is about execution on the production and sales side. So our target is 2 million tons of production by the end of 27. And by doing that, we'll achieve at today's prices north of $200 million of EBITDA. And that's how we can grow this stock, which is currently around $1.30 Canadian today on the TSX, to north of a $4 stock in 18 months.
Wow. Okay, so from an operational standpoint, you mentioned some things, but what do you believe will separate Clinch as production continues to ramp up, and what should investors be paying attention to behind the scenes that may not always show up in the news releases?
I think a big thing for investors to pay attention to about Clinch is that we will be participating in a big way into the specialty coal markets. That's something that the founder of this company, John Nix, and myself have experience in from our previous met coal companies. In fact, the last specialty coal contract John and I executed was with Brett Young, who is now the CFO of Clinch Resources when he was at Globe Metallurgical. Globe Metallurgical merged, is now Ferroglobe, and they're the largest purchasers in the Western Hemisphere of such products. We anticipate up to 20% of our production will be going into the specialty markets. It's a very highly profitable market, and I think with the quality of our coal, what the end users and the buyers of that product are going to enjoy from us is a new West Virginia-based, reliable feedstock provider of that product. And so I think that's something to pay attention to as we roll that out.
100%. Now, having said that, Bobby, execution is one piece of the story. The other is how the market chooses to value it. Metallurgical coal was recently added, as we spoke about, to the U.S. critical minerals list, putting it into a very different conversation than where it sat just a few years ago. Do you think investors have caught up to what that actually means, or is the market still valuing companies like Clinch through an outdated lens?
I think the institutional investors have caught up to that because we are hearing from people from my prior life in the E&P space that would never have looked at coal in a million years. They're now reaching out, looking at specifically met coal. So the institutional space gets it as soon as we were added to the critical mineral list. I think the retail investor has some catching up to do, and that's the onus is on us. And we've got some specific campaigns, and I'm sure some other U.S. metallurgical producers do as well, in the social media side, to get them up to speed that met coal is different than thermal coal. Thermal coal is used in power generation. And I'm a big believer and a big fan of thermal, and I think we should be building another 50 coal-fired electric plants in the United States. With scrubbers now, you can burn coal cleanly. So that old rumor that, 30-year-old information has long since passed. And so I think the retail side has some catching up to do, but the institutional side seems to be getting it.
Well, I mean, you're starting to hear a lot more about coal again, which is good to hear for sure. And the shift in perception really does open up another conversation that I don't think many people are really even having yet. I mean, you've talked about supply not only traditional steel makers, but also specialty carbon markets. Now, at what point does Clinch stop being viewed as a metallurgical coal producer and start being valued as a carbon company?
Well, I think they go hand in hand. We are a metallurgical coal producer, and some of that coal will be turned into specialty coal products. So it does start with mining metallurgical coal. The process starts at the prep plant where we wash it down to the specific spec for the end user and the specialty side. And that also includes, most of the time, sizing. And that's something, again, we have experience with and have done successfully in the past and will do again. So I think it goes hand in hand. And I think as soon as this year, and this year is 6 more months, so within 6 months, we'll be executing the first contracts in that. What marries with our metallurgical coal product is the fact that we are owners of Virginia Carbon Products, which is a patented front-end process, Fischer-Tropsch system that creates these supercharged high carbon, 90% plus carbon pellets, which are feedstock not only to blast furnaces for the steelmaking, but also the ferroalloy, the ferrosilicon market. These are, again, highly profitable products. And again, what the marketplace is looking for is a reliable provider of this particular specialty product. So that product, metallurgical coal, plus the addition of Astra Resources inside us, which is our own in-house marketing agency run by Cesar Canali, a 25-year veteran of the commodities trading space. We want to be kind of a one-stop shop as much as we can be for potentially a ferrosilicon product buyer or the blast furnace, virgin steel, where they can stop with us and get as many of those inputs that they need through us.
My gosh, wow. Well, there's so much momentum pushing behind you, and it's so great just to learn a little bit about your story here. You're definitely on the watch list. Let's have you back and just really continue this conversation soon.
Anytime, Lyndsay, I'm here.
I've been speaking with Bobby Gaylor, Executive Vice President of Investor Relations for Clinch Resources, discussing the company's focus strategy as a 100% metallurgical coal producer, its transition into a multi-mine producer, and how changing perceptions around critical minerals and specialty carbon markets could reshape the investment story. Clinch Resources trades on the TSX under the ticker CLCH. And here's something to think about. Markets are incredibly good at recognizing a trend. They're often much slower at recognizing when the definition of an industry has changed. And if metallurgical coal is now being recognized as a critical mineral, the real question for investors is this: has the market already priced in that shift, or is it still looking at yesterday's story? I'm Lyndsay Malchuk. Thanks for joining us on the Market Frontlines. Subscribe and join us as we continue bringing you the conversations happening where business, capital, and opportunity meet. We'll see you next time.